Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Joseph Clough, and this is episode 734. And today we are talking about the cages that we build within our mind that hold us back, and the imposed needs that we have, or self-imposed needs that we put upon ourselves, which ultimately holds us back. And they're invisible most of the time. We don't even know what's going on. Now, I'm going to paint not a very nice picture in our mind, and we'll let go of it soon, but there was an experiment once. It wasn't a very nice one, but it's one which has a lesson as to how we can assume ideas and our self-imposed needs. And they did it, unfortunately, with animals, and it was like a big cage, and there was monkeys in it. And every time they would go for, or one would go for a banana, everyone else would get like a light shock. So not very nice whatsoever. So of course, every time when a monkey went to grab the banana, it happened again, they would then go ahead and attack the monkey or try to pull the monkey down from it, because if the monkey didn't go for the banana, therefore no one would get like that little zap. So after a while, they noticed the conditioning that they would stop the monkey go for that banana. But interestingly enough, they began to kind of cycle through the monkey. So they'll take one out and put another one in, and so on. By the time at the end of this experiment about conditioning, they were all fresh monkeys. But they would never, every time the monkey would go for the banana, they would pull the monkey down without even knowing the consequence, right? It's interesting, because in the beginning, they had the experience of being that lightly shocked. But after that social conditioning, even the thought of going for that food would make all the monkeys try to stop that. So they never actually got zapped, but they were conditioned to keep on trying to stop someone without even knowing the consequence. So hopefully that makes sense as an analogy. It's not a very nice experiment, but an analogy that maybe we've been assuming things to be true. The needs that we impose upon ourselves, the invisible prison that we can live in, which may not even be ours. We may have just been conditioned in our own limitations. Maybe it's the belief systems we've assumed through society, through geography, through culture, through social media, through even places like spiritual, religion, teachers, family members, friends, partners. We are being inundated with these conditions that we assume to be our own. And I've said this before, we never know. We may be having and holding on to a belief system which is not even ours. And even it may not even be that person's who's passed it down to you, because maybe they assumed it to be true from the previous generation. So we may be acting out belief systems, these self-imposed needs of who I should be, or what I should do, or how I should act, or what kind of life I should have. All of these things are just conditioned within us, but we assume them to be true because we have built these cages of self-imposed needs. So, I want to break it down to the smaller level, then bring it to the bigger picture level. As I said, most people go, well, I need to do this. I have all these needs that I have to do throughout the day. I need to go ahead and eat, and that's a pretty good one, right? We don't want to not eat. But there are other needs that we put upon ourselves, and I need to go ahead and be perfect. I need to have this kind of career. I need to have this level of social status. I need this amount of money. I need this kind of relationship, even if it's an unconscious negative need. Because maybe we modeled bad relationships growing up, which made us feel like, well, that is what an ideal relationship is. That is what a normal relationship is. So we've built these values and these conditions that we feel we must need to maintain or to achieve. And this is where self-reflection comes in, because I want you to maybe think about some of the needs that you have throughout the day. The ones where you think, well, I don't want those. And notice asking yourself different questions. What if I did do this? What if I didn't do this? What would be the real consequence? Because most of the time, the real consequence is not even a big consequence, but we've built it up in our mind, these cages of imposed needs that hold us back. But once we start to look at the contrasting thought, the contrasting experience, the contrasting option that we could have, you may begin to notice that that need is absolutely illusionary. And the consequence isn't even negative. But we built it so much in our mind that we hypnotized ourselves to stop ourselves. Now, if we do take it to the bigger picture, think about how we have self-imposed, because we do assume them to be true. No one else is maintaining them. And I'm not just saying, look, you consciously are choosing these, because you don't. These are unconscious needs. These are assumed at an unconscious level. But I do want you to take a closer look about your identity in this world. What values do you place upon yourself? And that can be self-value, but I mean even deeper than that. The values that you've built up around money, the values you've built up about relationships, the values that you've built up about health, the values about anything in your life. But they're usually the main ones: health, relationships, career, money, are going to, and obviously self, are going to be the real values which drive us. And we get driven by these by fear or desire. The fear of the consequence could be the fear of rejection, the fear of getting hurt, the fear of not being enough, the fear that I got to be perfect. All of those things, we are being driven to have these imposed needs that we think we should be. So ask yourself, do you have any beliefs like that? That you've got to be a certain way. I need to be perfect to make this happen. That can be a big one. I need to know everything before I start my journey of where I want to be. Because this, I need this in order to have that, is going to be mainly illusionary. Because you don't, for example, when I teach people to do what I do, after the event, we give them all the tools, and they've got like the certificates and all those things. But as a student, we tend to think, well, I need to know everything before I start practicing. And really, that's illusionary. In fact, if you compared it to other things, does a doctor know everything in order to practice? No. Where do they learn most of their stuff? I'm going to guess in the practice of what they do. So it's interesting to consider that we have these, I need to do this, I need to achieve that, I need to be this person in order to do X, Y, Z, is a total illusion most of the time. Because if we carry on that way, we're always being held back behind these invisible cages that we've built in our mind. We've got to recognize, to dismantle them, and to actually go, maybe there's a different reality for me. Maybe there's a part of me which wants to shine today, a part of me which wants to grow, the part of me which wants to live a passionate, purposeful, loving life. A life where I don't need anything externally, like in terms of external validation. I work with a lot of people who are people pleasers, who need to get that validation by the things that they do, whether it be a validation of external love or feedback from their bosses. But it's the need that they have. What if you woke up and you just went, I don't need external validation? Is it nice to be complimented? Yes. Is it nice to get feedback on the work that you've done? Yes. But you can't be reliant on only that. What if you woke up and you just knew you are enough? You just knew you were worthy. You just absolutely congruently knew that you were more than good enough, of value, deserving, and capable. Then, if you came from that place, that's not need, that's knowingness. A lot of people, as well, as we go on a little bit of a side shift, as I just think about this, we are consumers of information, right? Because we feel like we need to know more. We need to be able to do this process, that process, this therapy, this practitioner of change, this way. And we're trying to like just absorb information, self-help books, podcasts, movies, training, seminars, events, one-to-one. Like we just need this, and you don't need all of that. You just need to know. You need to be able to just get to the place of knowing your power, where you are absolutely congruent in your thoughts and your feelings. Now, it's easy to understand why we've been this way because of the events that we've been through. That programming, I'll give you a recap. Geography, it could be religion, it could be culture, it could be family, friends, partners, all of those things we assume certain beliefs from. These become our values, the things which drive us forward, the things that drive us from actually moving forward as well. But if you just keep them unconscious, it means you're living this life of self-imposed needs, which are invisible because you're not consciously aware of them. The best first step is to wake up and be conscious of your thought process. Be conscious of why you do what you do. Catch yourself in the terms of how you speak to yourself. As I said, I need to do this in order to have that. I need to know more. I need to be perfect. Where did that really come from? And is it true? Is that need absolutely true? And then more importantly, on an identity level, really think about what you want out of life. Is this the only way? Are there other ways of making the complete, profound transformation within you? So the real moral of this episode is to know, to recognize, to uncover, and then begin to implement, to make the invisible visible, to be aware of the cages that we've built up in our mind. Like the beginning of this episode, I said about that experiment. The monkeys were carrying out this whole thing without knowing the consequence. It's just because what they observed. Every time a monkey tried to get that banana, the new monkey would observe all the other monkeys trying to stop. And then the monkey just went and did the same behavior and replicating it without even knowing why. It was conditioned to think, I need to do this. So remember, do you really need this? Is this a need that you really want to carry out? Is this a need which is absolutely truthful? Is there an option, another way where you can wake up without that fear of being perfect or the desire and need for validation? Because it doesn't come from the external. We try to do that most of the time. We try to get our needs met by doing external things, but you've got to take your mind on the inner world of you. And that's why I said we need to uncover. Make a decision today that you're going to observe those stories that you tell yourself. Make a decision today that you're going to notice the type of identity that you have about yourself. Is it that I'm not enough? Is it the fear of getting help? Only you can begin to start that uncovering. But once you start to uncover them, you can then start to work on the real core issue and not just the symptom. But on top of that, you can start to look for other examples of what if I didn't do this? What if there was another way of being me that if I were to be able to live in each and every day would allow me to live a happier life? That's where it comes from you. That's where you start to uncover the truth, I believe. Because you didn't have those needs of necessity, the self-imposed needs of having to be a certain kind of person your whole life. Maybe it happened at 12 years old. Maybe that's when it started. Maybe it was 5 years old. But I don't think you had those needs and limitations in the womb or when you just came into this world, or if we go further back, there's a starting point where these began to happen. So you've got to recognize that you haven't always been this way. Because that's what we always say. We say, I've always had this issue. I've never felt enough. Well, maybe there was a time when you didn't have that. And if there was a time you did not have it, it means there's going to be an opportunity to get back to that place, because you've done it once before, so why not again? And that's very freeing to me, because that means it means it's possible, right? Because you've had the experience of not the issue before. It just came into our life. We assumed it to be true. We imposed it upon how we see the world around us, our reality. Whatever we perceive to be true, we project into our reality. You see the world through the filter of your past programming. And you've got to undo that past programming of those imposed needs. But when you do, you change your life. Now, can you do this by yourself? 100%. Everyone is unique of how they solve it. Maybe it is time of reflection. Maybe it takes weeks. Maybe it takes years. Sometimes you need help, and I don't mind going to investing in yourself, with another practitioner, a therapist. But just make sure that you are working on the real unconscious core stuff, not just talk about it, because you can know your issue inside out. But if your unconscious mind is not listening, if your unconscious mind is still building out these cages and even cementing them with more cages and enforcing them with more cages through the experiences that we have, because think about it. If you had the fear of rejection, and then you either allow that fear to grow, it's going to make us want to not move forward. Or if we do get rejected, it's not going to make us feel good and we're not going to move forward. So we'll build another cage, another part of that prison. So just make sure we don't keep on reinforcing it by working on the symptoms. Go ahead and just really decide today that you are more, and therefore, because you haven't always had this, we've assumed it to be true sometime in our life. That means there's a possibility of the opposite of the issue. From I am not enough to I am enough. I am not worthy to I am worthy. And more importantly, find usually the one thing that changes the everything. It's the only way I work. I promise you. I do not work on symptoms. The symptoms to me lead me to the core. I'm really good at getting to the core, having done this 20 years. I can find it very, very quickly. Even if someone's gone through years and years of therapy and they've done all these different other therapies, I can get to the core, and then they have that epiphany of going, oh my goodness, now that makes sense. That's kind of like my personal superpower. I know how to get to that core, and then we only focus on solving that core. So allow those symptoms of those imposed needs, that evidence which is shining back at us, to lead us to the inside to find that root cause, and then that cage will be dismantled. And you'll start to allow yourself to be the person that you've always wanted. And I would say that is one of love. That is one of I am enough. I am worthy. I am of value. I am deserving. Fill in the blank, all the good I ams, because that is the truth in my opinion. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Remember, this is what we do within our mind. These are self-imposed needs that we've assumed to be true and we continue to build upon. But it doesn't mean you have to stay the same. When people say I'm broken or I'm unfixable, you are just putting another cage in front of you. That is not truth. Are you feeling that way? Yes. Is it a part of the behavior that we're having? Yes. But you are not broken. You are maybe acting out based on what we've been through, but that's not who you really are. There's so much more for you to experience. So get out of that frame of reference. Start to go on the inside. Start to notice what the real core issue is. Now, of course, if you are a professional and you resonate with this and you're ready to level up your business, your career, and you are so invested, even with money, to just get this problem done, to let go of the imposter syndrome, to let go of those core limiting beliefs that are getting in your way, then you can go ahead and apply to work with us. It is fully customized to your needs. This is a game changer which will free you from the pain that we've experienced for so long, to finally know things like you are enough, worthy, deserving, to get the income, to get the business going, to transform your relationships, all of it. Because when you change the core, you let go of the negative everythings and then acquire all the good ones as well. And of course, you can go ahead and apply and book your call with us. It's a one-to-one call at josephclough.info/talk. And on that one-to-one call, you'll get to an opportunity to be able to figure out where you are. In other words, what you want to let go of. We'll get clear on exactly, on top of that, what you want out of life. We'll figure out what's getting in the way. And then if we can solve it, we'll let you know about it, and we may invite you into our program. Once you do that, we let go of it all within 8 weeks. We do that every single time. You've just got to be ready, invested, a couple of hours a week. But once you do that, life will never be the same again. I promise you that. Of course, you can go ahead and look for other opportunities as well, and that's fine. But I want you to know there is that opportunity for the right person, because we only work with a small, limited number of people to make it fully customized to your needs. But however you do it, just decide today that you are ready to make that change. With me, with someone else, by yourself, you have the power. Don't keep on consuming more information. Get to the place of knowing who you are. Get beyond those old imposed needs and be the person that you truly desire to be. So with that, I look forward to speaking to you on a future episode, and you have a most wonderful day wherever you are in the world. Many thanks and goodbye.